What matters is what works for your home. Do not adopt anybody's method and bring it into your home and try to impose it on your spouse. Hi my loves, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's been a minute and I've definitely missed you guys, and I'm so happy to be back on your screens. And today we're going to be talking about my 5 biggest takeaways from my 7 years of marriage. And if you're new to my channel, do not forget to click the subscribe button right away and join the family. If you're returning, hi. Please take note, I'm not a relationship expert, I'm not a marriage counselor. I'm only sharing my experience because that is what we do in this channel. Number one point that I cannot start without talking about is the God factor. You guys know I would not stop talking about God, because the truth about it is that the early years of my marriage, I used to be more of a crybaby. If anything happened to me, I would first of all go ahead to cry about it, complain about it, and all of these things. And it was almost like in some cases I wouldn't talk about it to God, and then in some cases I would even maybe remember God as last option. But that over time changed when I started understanding that every single thing boils down to God. Like, I started learning that before I tell it to any human being, I will and should tell it to God first. When I'm overwhelmed, when my spouse has done something that, upsets me, when the kids are stressing me out, instead of going about complaining, I'm not saying it's not good to complain. I still complain when I'm like, my head is like boom. But then I've learned to first of all have this communication with God, tell it to God, tell God exactly how I feel, and just having that quiet moment when I really cry out to God, and you just realize that there is this peace that comes with knowing that there is somebody that hears you, who actually has a solution. There's a difference. Telling it to man, there is no, in some cases, no solution. In some other cases, maybe little solution. But the only person who has the power to really change your situation is God. So I started learning that telling everything to God just takes away the pain. It may not happen instantly the way you expect magic to happen, but you realize that with time, everything just begins to feel lighter. Remember what it says, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. So we need to understand that God is with us on every journey. If God called you to the vocation of marriage, He definitely wants you not to be in that marriage and be in pain. It doesn't mean that we're not going to experience pain as Christians. We're going to experience difficulties and challenges in our marriage. But then the difference is that when you have God, it doesn't feel like so much of a problem. You are able to basically navigate through everything without feeling overwhelmed and feeling like the world is on your shoulders. And trust me, God is the one that will fix the situation. Number 2 point that I want to talk about is compromise. We do not emphasize this enough. Compromise is everything. If you learn to compromise early enough in your marriage, it's almost like you've already removed 30% of the problems you might have in marriage. Now, a lot of people feel like, oh yeah, especially because of this era of social media, where social media paints people's marriages as though people are living this perfect marriage. Remember, people will only show you what they want you to see. Nobody will really, just a few people will really tell you what's happening behind the scene. But on the average, you do not get the real details of what is really happening behind the scene in people's marriages. Now, when you are in a marriage, when you know you want to get married, when you know that you hope to be a mom or a wife or a husband or whatever the case may be in the future, or you are right now, you need to understand that compromise is vital. There are times that you want something done your own way. There are times that you have a point. It's not even a case of what you're talking is your head is not there. You know what you're saying. You know the things that you know for sure that this is what will help the home or help your spouse or help whatever the case may be better. This is the best approach to this thing. And your spouse is doing the direct opposite or does not just agree with you. Sometimes you find out that little things, the littlest things you can ever imagine. I've heard about a marriage that broke. This is a real life story. A couple that got divorced because of toothpaste. Toothpaste, like the one we used to brush our teeth. You know, it's not a joke. Like, this thing happened. And the truth is that it was just a simple case of, oh, I like my toothpaste to be pressed from the bottom all the way to the top. The other person likes the toothpaste to be pressed from the middle all the way to the top. Trust me when I tell you, the devil has a way of amplifying little things to be as though these things are bigger than we can imagine. The devil has a way of just amplifying little things and making them look so bogus. The devil has a way of just making you think that, oh, your situation is the worst. Trust me when I tell you, if you learn to compromise in your marriage, you will live a happy life. Like, it's going to just take away all those big expectations. I give you an example using myself. My spouse is the kind of person that when we are tired, when we come back maybe from like a busy day and maybe we went grocery shopping or something, if he's tired, he just wants to go and rest. On the other hand, if I'm tired, I believe that, oh, let me just use all my last energy to just get this thing done, put things that are supposed to go to the fridge where they're supposed to be, you know, put the things in the pantry. But he's the kind of person that would rather do it later. But I do not see the sense in, you know, why do we have to do, let's just use the last strength we have so that when we wake up tomorrow morning, we're not exactly going to start worrying about doing these things again. Instead, we can have more time for rest. But then I realized that always trying to amplify my opinion and talk about how I'm right and all that was only making the matters worse. And one day I told myself, you know what? Whatever the case may be, let us all do it. If I have the strength, I do it at the time I want to do. If I don't have the strength and I feel like, oh, you're not encouraging me and everything, I will leave it. So we need to learn to understand that little things can be amplified to look like they are big things. Little things can lead to big deals because the devil knows how to pick on the thing that matters most to you. The devil knows how to pick on the thing that, you know, on a normal day, you would just not let go with ease. You need to learn to program your mind to understand that the marriage is about you and someone. We are all a work in progress. Nobody has it all figured out. There is no manual. And we need to understand that the truth is that there is no formula to do it like this, and it gets. But you just need to know the things that if you do like this and do like this, it would reduce the issues you would have in your marriage. The next point that I want to point out, to be honest, I don't think this is talked about enough, is finances. I do not know why people think that, oh, the things that could make marriage break is infidelity, all these things. Yes, those things are there. But the truth about it is that finances, you need to know that this thing, like there's something about money. There is something about money. Money is a topic that a lot of couples do not talk about. A lot of couples just want to just live, just do your own thing, I do my own thing. That is because it is such a sensitive topic. That is because it's such a topic that could go from 0 to 100 real quick. A lot of people are in a marriage and finances, money related topic has brought the biggest issues. I'm telling you for a fact. And I've come to realize that there is no formula that works same for everyone when it comes to finances. There is no formula. You need to understand that what works for your friend's home just may not work for your own home. What works for your auntie's home just may not work for your own home. It's okay to get ideas and views here and there, but you need to always understand that your home is unique. The people in your home are unique. So you need to understand that it's about you and your spouse. Both of you need to come together and agree on what works for your home. I always feel very weird when I see all these posts on social media, or should couples split the bills 50-50. There's not the same. That's why in the comment section of those posts, you always see diverse responses. So at the end of the day, you need to understand that it's about you and your spouse. If you are not careful, finances and money related topic will be the beginning of the downfall in your marriage. You need to understand that you and your spouse have a big role to play. Ask yourself, what are the bills in the home? I personally do not believe that anyone should adopt anybody's method. Everyone's method is unique to them. There are people's home that maybe the wife pays the rent and the man pays the rest of the bills. There are homes that the man pays the school fees and then the wife pays the rest of the bills. There are homes that the wife pays just 20% of the bills and the man pays the rest of the bills. There are homes that the man does not pay anything and the woman pays all the bills. What matters is what works for your home. Do not adopt anybody's method and bring it into your home and try to impose it on your spouse. As much as possible, ask yourself, what brings peace? What is it that when we are doing, of course, nobody wants to be cheated. Have this conversation. And when you have this conversation, make up your mind to be honest about it. Make up your mind to just remember that this thing called money, we're going to die and leave it behind. So let us try as much as possible not to attach too much importance to it. Yes, it is extremely important, but is it worth risking the peace you have in your home? So let us understand that these things are, the devil's way of just coming to bring issues. If you are not careful, the devil will push you to the point where you do not even realize who you are anymore. I'm not saying I don't know much about, having the joint account and all of those things. That's not what I'm talking about here. But I'm talking about finances in general. It is so important that you have the conversation and figure out exactly what works for your home and try as much as possible to stick by it. The next thing I want to point out that has been a lesson in in the 7 years of my marriage is peace first. The moment this became my watchword, a lot of things changed. There were times that, oh Lord, before you say, Jack, my mouth has, I have given you 10 times of what you said. But then I realized that just makes the home to just be chaotic. I do not want to live in a home where I'm not happy. I love home. I'm one of those people who I can stay indoors for 3 months. So far I have food, I have internet, I have water, I have the basic necessities. I'm good. So I told myself that whatever will make me get to that point where my home is like a war zone, I will do the one to the best of my ability. When you realize that something is constantly bringing issues, why do you keep throwing more light to it? Why do you just not focus on what brings peace? The moment your spouse says that thing is a trigger, and you want to respond, why don't you learn to remind yourself peace first? There are times that your spouse will say something, this thing requires a response. I need to answer you. But then there are times that it's not worth a response. I'm not saying every single time, no, keep quiet. No, there are times you will talk about things. But generally, those little things that are triggers, try as much as possible to develop some level of control. If you know exactly what we know these things. You know that thing that the moment you do, your spouse is not going to be at peace, like there'll be war. Why do you do it? We're all learning every day. Nobody has it all figured out. In my 7 years, there are times my husband would do something and I'm like, huh? Like, where is this coming from? So there is nobody that you have all figured out. The only person that has figured all of us out is God. So at the end of the day, we're all a work in progress. Our marriages are a work in progress, regardless of how many years you've been married to the person for. So at the end of the day, peace is the goal. You don't want to raise children in an environment that is very unhealthy. Trust is the last thing that I want to talk about because, see, I'm not judging you. I cannot even judge you because me too, I don't want to be judged. Everything I talk about, to an extent, I'm speaking from either experience or from to an extent, like knowledge of it. You need to understand that if you are not ready to trust the person that you're living with, then you're not ready to be in a happy marriage. Lack of trust is the biggest headache you can allow yourself have in a marriage. If you are still at the point where you're not yet married and you are dating or you're in a relationship with someone whom you do not trust, if you ask me, I don't think it's worth it. A whole lifetime is such a long time to be worried about where somebody went to, who they are talking to, for how long. You will get tired. First 2 years of my marriage, I was so invested in wanting to know, this person I married, did I make the right choice? Did I make the wrong choice? Are they talking to people? Are they still talking to people that they were involved with before? I was just all over the place. all over the place. And then in the night, when my spouse is sleeping, I want to go and check his phone. I want to see what's inside the phone. That is the worst period you can ever be. It took me the grace of God and the Holy Spirit to bring myself out of that situation where I was always investing time and energy in wanting to know what is in my husband's phone. There's some things that you cannot do by your power. And I always tell you guys, there's some things that you cannot do by your own power and strength. And that was one of the things I couldn't do by my power, because the devil will whisper to you, this one, he has not replied your text. Who is he talking to? Who is he speaking to? What's going on? Maybe there's one girl. Maybe he's still talking to his ex. All of those things. And I got to the point where I told myself, Ginika, lifetime is a long time to be doing this. Especially when you don't exactly have a reason to be that worried. A lot of women are worried for no reason. Don't get me wrong. You're worried for something you assumed and not facts. Not facts. Something that you just misinterpreted and you never clarified. That is the reason you are worried, and it just made you assume that your spouse is cheating. So as much as possible, if you're not ready to trust, then you're not ready to really have a happy home. Because lack of trust leads to lies. It leads to sleepless nights. It leads to unnecessary fights. It leads to chaotic home. It leads to an unstable environment for the children, because one leads to the other. So as much as possible, if you're battling with trusting your spouse, especially when there is no true reason for that, just try to make efforts. When that thing tells you, check the phone. Remind yourself that there is really no need. Remind yourself that this is not the life you want to live. Remind yourself that if really God wants you to see something, God will reveal it to you without you checking phone. Everything that happens when I cannot see, I leave it to God. You cannot follow the person to work. You cannot follow them to hang out with their friends sometimes. Sometimes you will, sometimes you won't. So to what extent? You check phone. There are some people that are smart. They would know how to still do what they want to do without you seeing the phone. I'm not saying once in a while, if you feel the need, don't check, don't peep to maybe for any reason to clarify your doubts. But I'm just saying, do not make it a habit. And the truth is that in most cases, from one check becomes 2 checks, becomes 3 checks, becomes a nightly routine. So guys, I hope that you've enjoyed today's episode. And if you did, let me know your biggest takeaway in the comment section. And if you haven't already subscribed, what are you waiting for? Click the subscribe button right now and join the family. We are growing, and I'm always excited to be right here with you guys. Let me know in the comments if there was something you learned from this video. If there's something you want us to talk about, please drop it in the comments. We are a family here and we're learning from each other. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll definitely see you guys in my next video. Bye bye.